Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1507 of the Locked on Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Sunday evening into Monday. This is actually part two of two with myself and Brian Schroeder talking about the entire Atlanta Hawks draft haul. Kobe Bufkin, Mouhamed Gueye, Seth Lundy, and also the two-way signing of Miles Norris on this two-part episode. So if you missed part one, I recommend starting with that episode. It should be available in your feeds right now. Also, please make us your first listen each and every day at Locked on Hawks podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Locked on Hawks, and please subscribe anywhere you get your pods. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. Without any further delay, we'll have the intro to this podcast. I'll be back with Brian Schroeder on the Hawks and the NBA draft.
You are Locked on Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I want to go to the second round guys now. Mouhamed Gueye was the one that kind of came out. It kind of leaked out late. Mike Scotto reported it during the draft, and nobody else kind of caught it. And then we didn't even know when I recorded the podcast on draft night. We didn't even know what the return was. It's a future second round pick, all that stuff. But I've seen him play. Obviously, he was not on my radar until closer for the Hawks until closer to the draft. Yeah. I actually heard from someone. I said this on the podcast, but I heard from someone during the draft. I was at the Hawks facility, just kind of spitballing in between picks. And I heard from someone that was like, hey, keep an eye on Mouhamed Gueye for the Hawks at 46. They really like this guy. I'm like, oh, okay. And I sat down right after that. And within 3 minutes, it was reported by Mike that they were trading for that pick and taking him. So I kind of like looked it back. I was like, well, what did you know? Long story short, like I get the appeal, and we'll talk about Seth Lundy in a second too. And he's a very different appeal in some ways. But I know you've seen him more than I have so far. I tried to watch a little bit.
How much have you seen him? Because I think I only saw like 6 games this year.
Yeah, I tried. I'd seen less than that until this weekend, and I've watched a little bit more film in the last 2 days, just for obvious reasons. There's a lot to like. He's also very, very raw at this point, and I think
especially for his age,
I think Sam wrote this, but I think he's been playing competitive basketball for like 4 or 5 years only, and you can kind of tell that certain times. But the raw tools are really impressive. So what do you make of Mouhamed Gueye?
He's an odd for the kind of guy, because I think Hawks fans could have seen. I don't know how much I was paying attention to the draft, but I don't think they showed highlight packages for the guys in the 40s.
Not many.
You look at him, and you get like you say like a raw 6'11" guy with long arms. You think he's the kind of player that he's not really. He's not really. I mean, he's not bad at defense. Like his defense is okay, but he's not really a shot blocker. He's not like a rotation guy, and he's not really like he's a good athlete, but I wouldn't say he's like he's not a Christian Wood type, like super springy, raw, like fluid athlete. He's weirdly kind of a skill player, like a finesse player for his size. Yeah. Like the shot, 3-point numbers are not great, but I think they lean too heavily on him. But he's like a pretty consistent LaMarcus Aldridge range kind of.
It looks really good too. Like for a guy his size, he has a nice. Nice mechanics. Like kind of in surprising fashion for what I just said. Like you would think maybe naturally that a guy who hadn't played a lot of basketball
4% there, but I don't know. He had stretches where he was really hitting 16, 17 footers off the dribble. Like,
and if you're 6'10" with a 7'3" wingspan, like is if you could shoot like that even from a long 2-point range, it's fairly interesting.
Okay, yeah, 35% on his 2-point jumpers, and only 20% of those were assisted. So he was creating a lot of his own shots there.
That was bad. But by the way, it was a bad team. We should at least note that was a bad basketball team.
Yeah, they had some guys like. Justin Powell got a deal. DJ Rodman transferred to USC. TJ Bamba is at Villanova. Like they had some guys who were worth playing, but it just didn't click. I don't think he's a high usage enough player. I think that's the issue. But 40s, you don't care.
Offensively, we'll talk about defense too, but offensively, it's weird because he didn't play like a big most of the time. Like that's a very simplistic way to put it, but he wanted to face up. He wanted to take jumpers. And I wonder if that, like, what they'll do with that. I think it's, from what I heard about the Hawks, again, this is very general, but they think of him as a guy who kind of has untapped potential, which makes sense if you watch him. Like he's not really playing. He wasn't playing the way that he probably will play in the NBA at Washington State. But is that? I mean, the skill. It's really they're betting on the tools. It's a bet on him at that size with the natural kind of skills that he has, and as he figures out more about basketball and kind of is what they're thinking about. But I mean, what do you think his actual role is offensively in the NBA if he gets there?
Yeah, I don't really know yet. That's kind of the weird thing. I don't think we're going to find out this year because he'll be playing in the G League. But
I was going to say, I mean, it's weird because he was picked ahead of Lundy. I think that Lundy has a lot better chance to be in the NBA more than Gueye does this year. And I think they probably would admit that off the record anyway, because Lundy's 3 or 4 years older, and it's just more of a polished guy. And he has
Lundy is what he is right now.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about him too, but like it's a very easy, more plug and play. Like the shooting is the shooting, all that stuff. But with Gueye, like I don't really know what to make of the offense, and then the defense. The flashes are kind of there, but it strikes me on tape. Again, I haven't seen all of this tape. I'm not going to act like I'm an expert yet, but I don't think he knows what he's doing a lot of the time.
No, I would say that's a good way to put it.
I don't mean that like as a negative thing. It's just that he doesn't really have the feel of especially of a center, like operating at the back end of the defense in the NBA. Like you kind of making calls, and he's going to have a long way to go on that end of the floor. Again, the tools are really good. He's very long, but he didn't block a lot of shots. I don't know what that means. It's not a great sign necessarily, but
he didn't put himself in position to block a lot of shots. I would say.
And you would think if all I told you exactly what we just said about his tools and his size, you would assume he would be a shot blocker, and he really wasn't. Like it's a weird dynamic all the way around. Again, they're very clearly betting on the tools, but if you watch the tape, the defense is almost more. I'm not even sure. Like more, it's almost like he has less idea on defense. And for this archetype, you normally think of that guy being a defense first player in some ways, and that's not really what he is right now.
He's a touch finisher, is what he is.
Yeah, I think the fact that he has that touch is pretty impressive. But yeah,
I think that's what they're betting on. Is like this guy has shooting touch, has scoring touch more than shooting touch. Those are two different things.
Well, and all they did in this class, and even in the two-way, as we're talking about with Miles Norris, it's a bunch of shooters. Like they're adding a bunch of guys who they like to touch on. Lundy, Norris. We'll talk about the Singleton as an exhibit 10 bet. Like all these guys are shooter. I mean, Kobe Bufkin's not like a shooter first, but everybody after that. I think Kyle Korver's in that room, and I wonder as he's like, give me some shooters, please. I'd like some guys with some touch. Bring them all to me. That's what it feels like.
Well, they didn't get my guy JT Shoemate then if they wanted shooters, but hey.
They're I mean, I would have looked at Hunter Tyson as one of those guys. Like he went. I mean, look, I said on the night of the draft, I would not have taken Mouhamed Gueye at 39 if I had a choice, but it's also fine. I mean, it's a bet on the tools. It's what it is. So
yeah,
does that kind of make sense? I mean, does that bother you at all? I'm sure you had him lower than this overall.
I had him for a little while. I had him in like 33, 34, and then the shooting kind of didn't stabilize, but he was always in that 30 to 50 range, I think, for me all year. So
and that is where he
perfectly
went
acceptable spot to draft him. Yeah, especially with all the guys who went back.
Oh yeah, I mean that's
made his case stronger.
Definitely. Today's show is sponsored by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure that every single player on your roster is a perfect fit for you. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part has to fit just right. Next time you are ordering parts or accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay's guaranteed fit, you can make sure that every single part that you actually need fits right and does so the first time around. Just add your ride to my garage, look for the green check to know the part will be fitting or your money will be coming back to you. Just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when it comes to shopping at eBay Motors. With over 122 million parts to choose from, that's a lot of parts. You can be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when you're actually the right parts are guaranteed for your vehicle. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices at ebaymotors.com. One more time, that is ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. On the Lundy a little bit, we talked about him a second ago a little, but he is much more of a straight ahead bet. It's not this easy, but I always make just to simplify it down, there's kind of two ways to look at second round picks. It's like either you're betting on the tools and upside, or you're betting on like one or two marketable things that can play quickly. And I think Lundy is opposite that.
There's two. Yeah.
What's the second one?
He's like 225, so he's not going to.
The length. I mean, 6'10" wingspan at 6'4" is like +6, +7 wingspan. It's pretty impressive.
He's a large. He's got a good body, and he can shoot. There.
Yeah, and I don't mean to simplify it too much, but that really is it. I liked Lundy. He was in my top 40. I think he's a guy I like a lot. The age, he's 23 already, and that matters. He'll be 24 soon. I get it.
I can't imagine why we'd both be influenced to like Lundy. But hey.
Well, yes. I have a plan to have my friend Bill Filippo on the podcast at some point. He's a Penn State guy, so he's seen every minute of Lundy's career. But no, I mean, truly, if you watch, second round pick, if you're looking for this archetype, it's pretty obvious. Like, he's a pretty easy fit for it because he has real size. He's not a zero on the ball, too. I'm not saying he's going to be an NBA creator because he's not, but it's not like he can't do anything with the ball in his hands. He did a little.
Yeah, I would say, if you're a 3-point specialist, 80 to 85% of your shots are spot ups. So
pretty much, yeah.
But like, there's room to be like the Gary Trents of the world can work that into like 60, 70%. Get a few more off the dribble. But yeah, most spot up guys can take a dribble handoff also. Like,
well,
it's not shooting is shooting.
Yeah, and to put it in, just so you know, so I'm backing you up here. Garrison Matthews is currently on the Hawks roster, right? Garrison Matthews is smaller than Seth Lundy. I'll be clear about that, but kind of similar archetype in some ways. These are the 3-point attempt rates for Garrison Matthews by season: 82%, 83%, 83%, 89% the last 4 years.
He might be a better shooter than Lundy, honestly, but he's
but you know what I mean. Like, that's the set. I mean, I'm trying to use the Hawks example for a reason, and I kind of knew his numbers were like that. But Lundy is probably going to be a specialist, and he's a 3-and-D guy. I guess the question is how good is, we all know he's a good shooter, but how good is the shooting? Is it elite, and also can he hold up defensively? Because those are really the two things that matter.
I would say, because this is a guy who's been in the news a lot. Well, not so much out in the news a lot, but this is a guy who's people have had to pay attention to more because he's involved in so many trades. I'd say he can be Landry Shamet level, which is to say a good NBA shooter, good enough that teams will want to have him, but not so good that he can.
Yeah, and Landry Shamet's like a guy that's always like a 10th man, but he's been in the league for a half decade and more now. Like, that's an NBA
and will continue to be for at least a few more years, I imagine.
Right,
he can shoot. And
at 46 in the draft, again, this is so funny. So you'll find this hilarious. I'm gonna send this to you offline. I had multiple people that say, basically the question was, why would they take this guy when they already have AJ and Bogey? And I'm like, this is the 46th pick. They're just trying to find a guy who might be able to play for them at some point. You can't have too many guys who can shoot. It is what it is.
Yeah. I talked about this with the Nuggets, and I wouldn't say that the Hawks are at this level, but they obviously think they have their main guy, and I'm sure they think for now DeJounte is the second guy.
Yeah.
If you think you have your two guys, and like Okongwu could be the third guy, or Jalen if Quinn Snyder really lets him fly, which he seemed to, which was very, or AJ, or if you think you've got I talked about those Okongwu, Jalen, and for now Collins, and for now Capella and Bogey. Like, if you think you have like your 6 guys or 7 guys, the rest of the team should be 6 guys. Like, I really feel like that.
Who can shoot, preferably.
It's true that the NBA is starved for wings, but people act like the NBA is starved for star wings. There are not that many star wings who are really capable of carrying a team. You need your guard, you need your big. You need the Kings, what the Kings have done. They have their 2 guys. The rest of that team should be Keegan Murray's. Like, that's what you want. And like, you can have like the Malik Monk or the Herder type who's can create a little bit. But like, if your team, again, we look at the Nuggets. Jokic is not better now than he was 3 years ago. Jamal Murray might be a little bit better. Aaron Gordon is a better fit than some of the other guys I had. Michael Porter's not gotten any better. He's what he is. The difference is they stopped drafting Bol and Zeke Naji and all these other guys, and they just started getting KCP and Bruce Brown and Christian Brown and like wings, 6'4" to 6'7" guys who can play 20 minutes a game and shoot. And that they have the same coach. Like, that's the only thing that's different is that they just started getting shooters. So yeah, you should have 10 shooters on the. I feel
that's also Bufkin. I mean, he's not the dead eye shooter that Seth Lundy is, but like, he's that well-rounded 6'5" guy who can do a lot of things. Like, that's part of the appeal there. But yeah, I mean, Lundy's not exciting, but I think there's a fairly clear path to him being an NBA player, and that at 46, that's very appealing package,
especially at that cost, second round pick cost.
And especially, and look, I talked about this a little bit previously. I can't remember when on the podcast, but there's this new second round pick exception where you can sign guys for 3 or 4 years without using any cap space. I mean, yeah, Seth Lundy's second contract will be when he's 26, 27. We'll see.
That's fine.
But yeah, I mean, if you can get that guy signed for, I'm not saying they're going to do this, but if they could sign a 4-year deal at the minimum for Seth Lundy with some non-guarantees or whatever, that's a very, very, very valuable contract potentially. If it works at all, then that's really, really helpful.
if it works, you have him cost control for 4 years, and then if you really need to keep him, he can get the 12, 15 million a year, the role player salary. And by that point, hopefully you've got your cap situation figured out, or you moved on for Trae Young, but that's a different.
Or you're retooling at that point overall. If at any point they're going to be trading Trae, it's going to be kind of a rebuilding, maybe not full on rebuild, but certainly a retooling effort.
The other thing too with having, I said, you need to have those shooters. Those are the guys like Landry Shamet. Those are the guys you can always slip into a trade.
Oh yeah,
like no team is going to not take a 6'6" guy who can shoot.
That's very, very accurate.
They'll take him. Like they'll sure throw that guy in, and that can save you some picks. If worst case Seth Lundy plays really well and they can't keep him, but they throw him into some trade to offload some salary, John Collins, and he saves them from having to trade a future first. That is an incredible outcome for the 46th pick. Like that's you. Good job.
I want to make sure to take advantage of your sicko-ness by talking about Miles Norris, and because the Hawks did make some. I mean, they reportedly signed him to a two-way. They've not announced that, but it was confirmed. In fact, his head coach at Santa Barbara did an interview out there that confirmed it.
That's pretty good intel, yeah.
Whenever you sign a two-way guy, that guy's going to be around. So we'll save the Exhibit 10 guys for the end of the podcast because they may not be around beyond Summer League. But Miles Norris is going to be a part of the roster for at least on some form for the list for a little while. So I want to ask you about him. I'll just I gave a little bit of a primer before I brought you in, but he was not really on my radar. I've seen him play a couple times. I watched him play 2 more times this morning before because I had to get prepared. But I'll open it up to you. I think the appeal is once again, I guess hold tight, Brian, a big shooter. They seem to be liking big shooters right now.
He's a guy. Miles is interesting because I won't say he wasn't on my radar, but he definitely wasn't a top 100 guy.
I thought by the way, he wasn't for Sam Vecini or ESPN guys either. He was not in the top 100 for anyone.
But I remember him. He was a reasonably big recruit, and he was at Oregon, and he was like not good. He ended up transferring out. So those guys, I do definitely lose track of those guys sometimes. But UCSB is not like terrible, and he was definitely a guy I checked in on. Like the last 4 weeks, I did a lot of database stuff and just like literally remembering guys. Like, oh, that guy. And like, the shooting, like 85% from the line. He was like 37%, 38% from three.
38% from three over 3 seasons too, like 400 attempts. So it's a real sample of him shooting.
23 dunks this year is still like he's still got some pop. But I mean, worst case, he's going to be a fixture in the G League team. Like he will be. He can shoot. He's 6'10". So, like, there's
That's
really no
package.
downside to him as a two-way. Because if he has to play minutes for you, then something's gone wrong, but at least he could shoot.
Well, and it's a reminder to me and others now that now they have 3 two-way spots. Every team has 3 of them. So you can kind of take a little bit more of a flyer. And there's a non-zero chance still as we record this on this weekend that the Hawks may still use one of the two-way slots on either Lundy or Gueye. They might do that. I don't know what they're gonna do.
I would probably do on Gueye,
any pick outside of the top like 35 in the second round could be on a two-way. That's definitely a possibility. But they have 1 slot left. I think they're going to keep Donovan Williams on his two-way. He was signed to a multi-year two-way, so I think he's going to be there for one of the spots. You got Norris for one of the spots, and then maybe one of the rookies. Maybe they do another one, and they sign both Gueye and Lundy to long-term deals. We'll see.
The reason you don't do it now is you always want to. I feel like unless you're doing what the Sixers did, which is just literally sign a bunch of top 50 guys, like a bunch of guys I thought we could drafted. Yeah, Cravion Smith, Ricky Council, Azuolas Tubelis. Do that with your two ways, or you want to keep one spot open in summer league because what if you get like this is a weird name because he ended up not doing it in the NBA, but you get like a Devon Akun Purcell who averaged like 19 a game for the Nuggets and looked awesome.
That. Yep.
You want to have a guy, you want to keep a spot open in case there's a guy on your summer league team or someone else's summer league team because they're all there. You want to have that spot open in case there's like a real under the radar guy who just blows up.
Well, and Exhibit 10s now too have unilateral conversion to two ways. So if for instance, if they were to fall in love with David Singleton, they could just make him a two-way if they want to, like without having to do anything else with it. That's. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that's a possibility that they could do at Summer League. And the 2 guys that I've seen so far that have been reported to have been on Exhibit 10s for the Hawks are, like I said, David Singleton from UCLA and Jarkel Joyner from NC State. Both, obviously power conference guys. So we've seen a bunch of them. They're both very old players. which is
very experienced.
Yeah, there you go. A much nicer way to say that. Very experienced. Do you like either one of them as far as like potential NBA bets, or are these just filler for the most part?
I think Singleton's a reasonable bet. He's I think he's kind of a 3. He kind of was just kind of a slasher scorer, like off-ball guy for UCLA. And he was one of those guys.
6'5"-ish, 6'4",
Yeah.
6'5". Not very big, but
a Lamar Patterson type.
geez. Nice flashback. Hawks legend Lamar Patterson.
But he's just kind of a big dude. And he's a guy that I definitely I have a marketing efficiency for these guys of just like, he was never like an elite prospect. He was never like a high level prospect. He was never a guy I would claim to draft, but he started like 4 straight years on good UCLA teams and just like contributed. Yep. And like those guys can sneak in. They can slip into the NBA because they know what they're doing. You don't have to develop them really. So I feel like, there's a chance Singleton is a guy who just starts every summer league game and puts up with like 12 or 13 points, and they just decide like, let's just bring this guy in. Like he's just consistent, plays hard to practice.
He also shot. So again, it's 5 years and it's not like big volume at any point, but he shot 43% from 3 on 500 attempts from 3-point range.
9.9 attempts per 100 is pretty good.
Oh, at the end, that's a lot. Yeah, he was taking I was forgetting how little he actually played per game. So I was looking at the per game numbers. You're right. Yeah, the per 100s. The last 4 years at UCLA, he took about 9.5 per 100, which is actually a very high number. So he didn't do much of anything else, but he shot well on threes on a big sample. So
good. Another 2-point steal rate. Steal rate, 3-pointers, 6'5". Sure.
That is basically
Darkel is a more fun player, but Darkel's like shorter than me. He's
listed at 6'1". I don't really believe that. He was second team All ACC this year at NC State and averaged some big numbers. But it was actually his third school. He started at Bakersfield, was at Ole Miss. He's 24 already. So that's he played alongside you mentioned Terquavion Smith earlier. Yeah. He played alongside him at NC State
and was better than him for long stretches of
this season. He was this year. Yeah. Not that I soured too much. I thought Terquavion should have been drafted, but
yes, absolutely.
If he left a year ago, he would have gone in the top 35. So that was unfortunate for him. But anyway, it happens. The thing with guys like Terquavion, though, after 35-40, some guys it's better just to take that priority two-way, which he seems like he did because they signed him 5 minutes after the draft. Pretty quick. I noticed that too.
That can be better. It can be better to go to a team that says like, hey, like reaches out and wants you to be there. Like you might be able to play better. The John Conchar contract, as I call it. Like the Grizzlies called him at like, from what I know, they called him like around like pick 33 that year. We're like, hey, don't take any offers from anyone else. We're going to bring you in. You're going to play big minutes for us. And like he did, and he still does.
So with Joyner, real quick, I mean he is small.
Real small.
Is it as simple as like we want a summer league point guard? Is that it? I mean, what kind of let's just assume for a second that it worked for Joel Coach. Like, what's the way that he gets to the NBA? What's his calling card in your mind?
The shooting is fine. He's got to be like a bulldog. He's got to be like a screen chaser. Like he's got to be.
I was saying that too. Like, what did you see that on was he good on tape defensively?
I honestly sometimes with. Defense is the hardest thing to evaluate. I really don't have that many strong, unless it's a guy like a Jordan Walsh, or if it's a guy who's like there are some guys in like I'm trying to think of even a player in my top 100 who's like a defense first role player. Caleb McConnell from Rutgers. It's like that guy's good. That guy's 6'7", crazy arms. Like he was like first team All Big Ten defense.
Yeah.
Honestly though, especially with guards, I don't care that much about guard defense unless you're elite.
Well, yeah, and I mean I'm only asking because he is so small. And
that's what he has to do.
Yeah. I mean, navigate screens and just kind of. But as far as like from the Hawks perspective, I'll be fairly shocked if he makes the team coming out of camp or anything like that. But he could be in College Park, and I think he might get some reps as like the backup point guard in summer league kind of thing. Like somebody has to play when. I'm sure they're going to put the ball in Kobe's hands a lot at summer league. I don't know who else is going to be there yet. We're still recording this podcast before they announce the roster, but Bufkin will have the ball a lot, I'm sure.
It's awkward because I want to see Jalen Johnson, but you also never want to see the third-year guy at summer league. That's never a good sign.
Yeah, so I keep getting questions. Maybe it'll break at some point about whether Jalen would play. I've not heard anything about this, but you're basically I'll be surprised only because he played so much this year. So much is relative, but you know what I mean. He was in the rotation basically all year long, and if you're in a rotation in year 2, you don't play summer league the third year.
No,
Generally,
I think the only reason he could, and I think he could be the rare guy where the third year is a positive, because he still has that reputation of being quote unquote lazy that he worked on.
And he didn't play last year. He was hurt, like legitimately hurt, so he didn't play. And
I think the only way he would play, and it wouldn't be like seen as a negative, is if Quinn Snyder like straight up asks him, like, "I want to see you run offense, see what you can do, go out there and have fun."
And that happened with just to use another Hawks example, they had Collins play with a couple games with Trey. When Collins was too good to be there, and everybody knew it, but they literally said, "We want John to play with Trey for a few games," and that's why he played. I think AJ's the same thing. That, like, honestly, AJ's probably too good to play.
I'd be surprised if he was there. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So, like, he might go. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays a game or two, but he's very much on the too good to be there kind of track. So it might just be the rookies and Donovan Williams and whoever, and that's fine. It's summer league. It is what it is. But some guys to keep an eye on. Maybe they'll sign a few more. I'm sure they will in the coming days. But Miles, again, to be very clear, Miles Norris is the one that we know of. It's two-way is different than Exhibit 10. Two-way means you're going to be around for a while, so that's why we talked about him first. But
I would say all 6 guys we talked about will be on the summer league team, though. That seems.
I would certainly imagine, and barring an injury or anything weird, those guys. I think it'll be those 6, probably Tyrese Martin, Donovan Williams, and we'll see after that.
That's a summer league roster. It's really
a very summer league roster.
That's
Kobe
fine.
Bufkin's enough to command. And look, I always do this story, but the first time I ever covered the Hawks at Summer League, they had exactly one guy on the team that was even remotely interesting. It was Mike Muscala, was the only one there, and that was in the days where like they weren't quite rebuilding yet, so they didn't really care about Summer League very much. And I talked to Mike Muscala every day for like 9 days in a row. He was literally the only guy there that had any interest at all. So I'm excited to have a first round pick, 2 second round picks, and a two-way at minimum to talk about. That's plenty.
Yeah.
Well, all right, Brian. Before we get out of here, I want to ask you one thing about the non-Hawks draft. What was either your favorite or your least favorite thing that happened in the draft, non-Hawks division?
I'll have to try not to be biased. My least favorite is probably the Bulls trading up into a wing draft and taking the 25th best wing in a 25 wing draft. Great.
I had a feeling it was going to be Bulls related when I asked that question.
Well, it's not even so much. It's Julian Phillips is not a guy. It's not so much that taking that guy at that spot is bad. It's taking that guy at that spot when Andre Jackson and Max Lewis are on the board. Yeah. And it's a continued thing the Bulls keep doing. They did with Dalen Terry, where they keep taking these developmental guys, and then they're like the 28th best. Like, they're really bad at developing players. They're terrible at it, and they keep doing this. They keep taking these developmental picks and talking about like building for the future, while at the same time they're going to give Vucevic and DeMar DeRozan $150 million. And it's like, what are you doing? Are you good or not? And
which
it's like
one of those things do you want to be? Yeah,
they have no answer. They have no answer because their answer is we want to get the 7th seed every year, which is the most infuriating bullshit way you can run a team, and it drives me insane.
I had a good feeling that this is going to be a Bulls rant from you when I asked the question, so that was.
But
after we got there,
I would say my other least favorite, honestly, is there's a lot of guys in like the teens I just don't really love the fit of. Like Grady Dick's fit is good. Well, not his outfit. No. Actually, I have no problem with it. Honestly, it was well tailored. Speaking of, Kobe had one of the best fits of the whole night. Kobe looked great.
He had the whole aesthetic from Kobe Bufkin was brilliant on draft.
I would just say, I would say there's not a lot of places I love guys like 11 to 25 went. Really, like I think there's some awkward fits, and then I'd say the best one, honestly, is the Sar going 5 because I love it.
I have a feeling you like that too. Yeah, it makes sense.
A Sar getting to be the Andre. They straight up said we wanted to be Andre Iguodala, and I was like, that he can do that.
That's great. If they said that, I missed that. That's. I'm glad they said that because that makes me feel better about the pick in general. That they understand what he can and can't be and all that stuff. Yeah. That's good. It's good to know. I love their draft last year. And like I like Marcus, I'm a Marcus Sasser guy, but I'm not really counting him as like a major piece. But I love the idea of provided they can clear out some of Troy Weaver's restitution projects, Wiseman. But I mean, Marvin Bagley's fine. He just can't say help. He's okay. He's not bad. Yeah.
Or RJ Hampton, get these guys out of here. Clear these guys out. Let Sasser play. And let Asar play. But I'm really excited I really wonder, they might be a team that sends, like, I wouldn't be stunned, especially because Ivy got hurt last year Summer League. During Ivy, Asar Thompson is one of the best Summer League cores I've
honestly, I was gonna say, I mean, as far as like Brian core, even just the perimeter quartet of Cade, Ivy, Sasser, and Asor. It sounds like a lot of Brian Schroeder stuff to me.
You know, who should be the fifth guy there.
Oh no, what am I
Isaiah
thinking
Livers.
Oh yeah,
Isaiah Livers. He was good when he played.
I like him too. He's obviously a guy.
You know who else likes him? Director of scouting or whatever he is, John Eli.
Oh, I'm sure.
I love that he brought him there for that reason, and then like
it worked.
I'm sure they were just like, yeah, we'll bring your guy in, and then it's like, oh, this guy's shooting like 48% on.
This guy's an NBA player. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this guy's good.
Look at that. All right, Brian. Well, thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate it. Where can people find all of your stuff? Plug everything.
Patreon.com/RyanJNBA and that Twitter for as long as that's around.
Yeah, exactly. I am a patron of Brian's. I would encourage people to check out his work. It's fantastic. It definitely helps me.
I might do some preliminary 24 stuff, but I don't know. This is going to be a weird draft. I don't really know what to think of it. So,
last thing here on this, Hawks fans already got excited about the first ESPN 24 mock had Bronny to Atlanta at 17. So lots. If that were to happen, it would be good for me.
He's not going 17.
I tend to agree with you. I'm just saying. The most prominent mock draft for 24 so far, not Bronny to Atlanta. So.
Like, not only is he better than that, this class is not. He could go 17 this year, if even in this draft. I think wouldn't be crazy, but he's going top 8.
I think he's going to go higher than that too. All right, Brian. Thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it. Check out Brian's work. Please subscribe to this podcast, everybody. I really appreciate that as well. Ratings, reviews, all that fun stuff. And we'll see you all next time.